Thank you for joining us today as we introduce you to library resources for human services. Your librarians from Webster University today that'll be working with you are me, Holly Hubenschmidt.
And me, I'm Emily Sharp, and I'm happy to help you today.
So by the end of this session, we hope you will be able to use library resources to find articles and books, obtain materials through the library, because we will get you things even if we don't necessarily own them. We'll help you find information on APA, use research guides to find other resources, and get assistance from a librarian. We're standing by to help. Human services is an evidence-based field, and where you're going to find that evidence is the library. So we're really glad you're taking time today to learn about tracking that evidence down. So you could Google your topic and try to find articles that way, but there are benefits to using the library article databases. We have a lot of the full text content that you're not going to find easily just out on the open web. You are going to be able to select really discipline-specific databases to delve into. So if your topic gets a little bit specific in a particular discipline, maybe leaning more towards education, you'll be able to dive into the education database as well as a psychology database or sociology database. It's got features that are going to let you customize your search. So you'll be able to limit to certain dates or certain types of periodicals, really that good scholarly type of journal that your faculty members are going to be impressed seeing in your bibliography on your papers. And finally, it's going to integrate with other library services, such as that requesting option. If you do need to request an article that you find in our databases, it's a pretty seamless process. I mentioned the word periodicals, and it's kind of library jargon for anything that comes out periodically. And it includes your magazines, your scholarly journals, even trade publications that are really aimed more for people working in a specific field. And you'll be able to tell the difference easily when you look at a physical print journal or a physical print magazine, that magazine is full of ads and pictures and short articles, and it's really more general interest, almost entertainment often, whereas your scholarly journals, if you see them in print, are going to be denser. They're research. So you're going to see long bibliographies. You're going to see really the methodology of the research done. The article will be broken up into abstracts and methodology, conclusions. It sounds a lot more like a science fair project. So you'll see that difference. In a database, it's not always so easy to tell, but there are limits to help you eliminate a lot of that those popular publications, and there are just fewer of the popular magazines in a library database. Many of them really are primarily scholarly journals. So you really are a step ahead when you're starting with the library for your research. We do have a research guide devoted to human services, and you can find that. The URL is right here. It's also accessible from the library website, and we can show you that here in just a moment, because we're going to take you in now to the library's website and take you into one of those databases, and we'll briefly show you how you might approach a search for a journal article. And the computer will take just a moment to catch up with us here. Okay, so here is the library website. Under Research Help here, you'll see Research Guides, and this is where you're going to go to navigate to the Human Services Guide. And I'm just going to go ahead and search it real quick here. And we see the guide show up right away. And the guide is just, it's a centralized place for a lot of different resources to support students in the Human Services degree program. You'll see my contact information on the side. This is Holly again. And Emily and I are both standing by to help you with anything you need. And we'll explain more about all the other librarians standing by to help as well. But right now we're focused on articles. So I'm going to click on the Find Articles tab. And you're going to see a list of some of the most helpful databases that are available to people in the human services field. And I'm going to start in PsycInfo. I'm sorry, my example is in SocIndex. To get into any of these databases, because they are limited to current students, you are going to need to log in with your last name and your 7-digit ID number. And then you'll be taken into the database. And I thought, let's try to find some articles on cultural competency. It's something you hear a lot about. And I'm seeing in my predictor here, cultural competence is showing up, cultural competency. And I'm not really sure which way I want to go, so I'm going to use a librarian trick, and instead of a Y or an E, I'm going to put an asterisk. And that's going to give me any ending for that word. So now I'm looking for articles that mention the words cultural and competence with any ending. And I can see I've got over 2,000. I need to narrow this down. I also see by glancing at this over on the left that there's a publication date bar, and these articles go back to 1933. So at some point I may apply the date limit, but I'm not going to do that to start. I'm going to think about my topic, and I'm interested in cultural competence, but really from that human services point of view. So I'm going to go ahead and put in human services. And that was a good limiter. It brought me down to 200 articles. And I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, number 2 here is implementing a cultural competence training as a psychopolitical empowerment process. Okay, let's go ahead and explore that article a little more. I'm going to click on the title so I can see the full record. And pretty much towards the top, I have everything I'm going to need to cite this article. The title of the article, the authors, the source, have all of the journal information, so the journal that it's from, the date, the issue. I can see that this is 11 pages long, so it's a good substantial article. I'm also going to see just a little below that subject terms. So I'm going to see some ways that articles in this database are tagged. And these tags can be very powerful searching tools. If I want to find more information, I may have to refine this search or try several other searches and then compare my results. And so just glancing through this, I can see human services programs is an official subject term. Teaching methods, cultural competence. So I've got, it gives me ideas of other words I might want to use in my search. On the far left-hand side, I see article linker, and just below that, I see cited references 29. That means that there's 29 references at the end of this article. So significant research was done, a significant literature review was done by the authors of this particular article. And as I scroll down, I'll see a little more information, including an abstract, which will give me a really good idea of if this article is going to be of value to me. Over on the right-hand side are the tools that I have available to me, including right in the middle is a button that says Cite. If I click on this, it's going to show me the most common citation styles used at the university, including APA. APA is going to be your citation style in this program. It's very important to use it. This is an easy way to get the information that you're going to need if you're going to use this article and need to cite it. And really, when in doubt, cite it. If you use it at all, cite it. It's better to oversight than undercite. So what I would suggest is as you do your research, be grabbing these citations, plugging them into a Word document as you go. I hate to disappoint, but often there are mistakes in these citations, but generally they are really capitalization kind of errors, and they're very easy to fix as you wrap up and that bibliography, as you really go through your works cited and start your references, APA references. As you go through that list, it's very easy to correct if you have all the information to begin with. So I want you to be aware of the cite feature, but also aware that there are often mistakes in it. I'm going to pop back out to our list of 200 and scroll down. Some of the articles are available full text, such as number 3. And you see at the bottom of that record the PDF full text link. That is going to link you directly to the full article. Now, number 2, the article we just looked at, does not have that PDF full text limit, but it does say check article linker to see if the full text is available. And I'm going to click on that now. This is going to tell me if the article is available in a different database that the library might have, or if we have to request it. So it's going to save me a lot of time digging around. And in this case, it tells me the article is not available in anything that the library subscribes to, so it needs to be requested. And that is a very easy process. You would click Request It here. The first time in, you are going to be asked for some information to set up your account. After that, it's going to open up like this with all of the journal information, and all you need to do is click Submit Request. Over on the left-hand side where it says View, that's where you're going to find the article. In 2, 3, 4 business days, you're going to get an email saying that the article is available and a link back in here, and it's going to be under View, under Electronically Received Articles.
And that will be in PDF format. This is never something where you'll have to come to the library and pick up the article. It's always going to be there in electronic format for you.
Good point. And there is no charge for this service, so we do want you to take advantage of it. We'll go back here to our search. There's just a little bit more I want to show you about searching for journals. And that is that we have 200 results here. Sometimes you're going to have to think more broadly about a topic. Sometimes you're going to have to narrow. To narrow, I would add another concept up here in the upper left where we have the search terms. So if you want to think about narrowing this down, you might want to consider a certain population, maybe rural, cultural competency work in human services with a rural population. Anything that I add in there is going to limit my number. That limited me to only 5 results. I may get too limited and have to back up. I can also try to think of other terms that might be appropriate and possibly put them all on the same line, rural or remote or regional. These are going a little bit astray of my thoughts, but generally or will give me a few more. So putting synonyms on one line like that is really useful. I could also think of a certain age range of a person. We could do aged or elderly if we want to look at cultural competence amongst the older population. So really, you need to give a lot of thought to what terms you're using. I'm going to go ahead and remove that last concept and go back to my 200 results and show you a final way to limit, and that is by using the limiters that are provided by the database. Over here on the left are some of these options: scholarly, peer-reviewed journals. Sometimes you will be told to only use scholarly journals. This database is primarily scholarly journals, but that will limit just a wee bit. Date, we mentioned before, and this is a good time to say I really don't want items that go all the way back to the 1980s, so we can slide that date slider over perhaps to items from the last 10 years or 5 years, and that reduced our number by half to just over 100 articles. I can also click Show More, and I'll see limits, additional limits, including usually language, references available, things like that. Every database is going to be a slightly different. It will have slightly different limiting options. It will have slightly different terms that they use under their subject terms. So you do have to play around every time you try this in a different database. And one final word on limits is this full text limit. You can select full text, and if we do that here, we're going to drop from 108 articles to 68. Of those 40 articles that we dropped, those were all of the articles that mentioned article linker. So those were all things that could have been requested through the library or that might be in another database that you could have linked to very easily. Full text is kind of a false limit. It's really based on publishers of journals that have a contract with the SocIndex people. So if you need to find an article just for discussion, full text is great. But if you're truly doing research, full text can be very limiting to the results that you find, and really make it a little bit frustrating as you find you really are limited in what you are retrieving. I'm going to go ahead and return back to this screen. All right. I'm going to turn things over to Emily to talk briefly to us about books.
All right, thank you, Holly. So we're going to look at how to find books and electronic books. So we've looked already at searching for articles, and some of the same types of strategies that Holly just talked about, we're going to use in finding books. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and jump back to the library's website, and we're going to go through our book catalog and find those books. So what we want to do is, when we're on the library's homepage, we can go ahead and click on Books, etc. Library Catalog. There's also going to be a link on your research guide, and so you can go either way, from the main library homepage or from the Human Services Research Guide. And when we're looking for books, we have a couple of options. So if we search by keyword, that is very similar to doing just a regular Google search. It's kind of finding those important words anywhere in the entry for the book. If we know that we want a specific book, we can search by title, and there's some other ways to search there as well. So what I'm going to do for my book topic is food insecurity. And so if I click on food insecurity and I click submit, it's going to get me anything that has food insecurity either in the title or in the description, maybe the table of contents. And then you'll see that even though I called this our book catalog, we actually get lots of different things, pretty much anything that isn't an article. So our first entry here is called Food Insecurity and Public Health. And you'll see over here that this is an ebook or an electronic book. Because Webster Library is supporting so many students all around the world, we have a good number of ebooks or electronic books, and those are books that you can read at any time right from your computer. You're usually able to save at least a chapter or two as a PDF or email it to yourself so that you can have that for later for your research. And they can also be really handy because when you're using an ebook, you can search inside the book. You know, when you're using a print book, you go to the index and you find the page. Ebooks are a little bit easier for that. So if I want to learn a little bit more about the book, I'm going to click on the title. So again, very similar to what we saw in the article database. I'm going to get all of the information that I need to make a citation for this book. So if you've ever borrowed a print book and then you realize that you forgot to put it on your reference page, you can always go back into the catalog and find that information and make the citation later. We also then get the link that's going to jump us into this ebook, and it will require you to sign in just like you did for the database. And then sometimes we get a table of contents for the book. In this case, we don't happen to have that, but we do have subjects that go along with this book. So again, very similar to what we saw in the database with Holly, food insecurity, health aspects, and then a little more simply public health and nutrition. But I could click on one of these and I could see similar subjects. And so there's all of these different subjects that apply to food security, and I see how many things we have that relate to that subject. And I could look at the previous screen to look at, other things about food security, and so I could click on that and I could get more. Now remember, we typed in food insecurity. And so sometimes the official subject that is assigned to a book or to an article is not what you think it's going to be. There are people at the Library of Congress who decide these things, and they don't change as often as we change. And so sometimes, especially in fields like health that change really rapidly, it can be either terminology that you're not using anymore or terminology that is doesn't sound quite right to you. So if I click on food security, I'm going to get a list of all of the things we have for this specific subject. You'll see a lot of these right away are films. So we have a couple of databases that have streaming video. And again, you're able to watch these right away on your computer. And I'm going to get a couple of other things, so I get another ebook here, but for the most part, these are films. So let me do that food insecurity search one more time just so that I can show you about books in the library building. So if we want a book that is in the library here in St. Louis, we can click on the title. We want to see, it'll tell us where it is, what the call number is, and we want to make sure that it's available. And if you're able to come to the library in St. Louis, you can come in and you can, come in and pick it up, and a librarian can always help you to find the right place. If not, if you are in the U.S., we will mail this book to you. So you can click on request and follow the steps through, and we'll send it to you in the mail, and we'll send you the material you need to mail it back to us, and all of that is free. And then same thing, you can look at all of the information about this book. You can look at the subjects, which are a little bit different, food supply, social aspects, food habits, cross-cultural studies. Because this is specifically focusing on women, there are some other subjects that go with that. It also tells you how long the book is. That can be really helpful. And if right, if you want to cite this, all of that information is here as well. So I think that should be everything. So we talked about finding and using ebooks, finding and getting print books, and the fact that you can also find streaming video within the catalog as well. I'm going to get out of the catalog now and head on back to our PowerPoint. So Holly mentioned the research guide a little bit earlier. So the direct link to that is here just once again, just to make sure that you have that. And then I also want to talk for a minute about how to get help. So like we have mentioned already, Holly and I, of course, are here to help you, but we are not here every day. So you'll see on the library's website that under Research Help, there is this Ask a Librarian page. So we have a research desk, and we've got librarians who work at that desk almost 100 hours a week. And so they are available through email, they are available on chat, they are available by phone, and of course in person as well. So the posted hours are very easy to find, but when you click on the Ask a Librarian page, you're able to get in touch with them in many different ways. And the chat is actually available 24/7. So all the time you can chat with the librarian. You probably saw the chat box when we were in the catalog and when we were in the database. And so if you're having trouble, if you've been searching for a while and you're feeling like you really can't find what you want, if you want a specific thing and you're having trouble finding that, if you're trying to maybe narrow or expand your topic and you're just not sure what words to use, definitely go ahead and get in touch with us. And usually you are going to be able to do that right from the screen where you're searching. So please don't hesitate to do that. I also wanted to just mention, we've been talking a lot today and going through the library's website, but I did want to mention that the website is going to change. So we are in the process of redesigning a new library website. It's going to be here before we know it in January of 2018. And what's really nice is you're going to be able to do all of these searches right from the home page. So it's actually going to save you a click or maybe even like 4 clicks to go ahead and search for things. So that is going to be really helpful. So we also want to just mention some other helpful resources that are available to you as a student in the Human Services program. The Writing Center, which you can make appointments either online for the online Writing Center or in person. And their website is listed here, and they are also, of course, very happy to help you. And then finally, we just want to let you know that we do other online trainings similar to this one that you're watching right now. So if you visit this page, we've got lots of other videos that you can watch. We've got information on beginning your research, on doing a literature review.
APA, there is a whole video, short video, devoted to APA. So in less than a half an hour, you can get a really nice overview of that citation format and what's required of you.
So we really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video today. And if you've got questions about the library, about using our resources, if there's ever any time that we can help you with your research, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us. That's why we're here, and we're happy to help. So thank you very much.
Thank you.